and cryptocurrency. So I'm used to hearing it. I'm around those tech folks. But when I am on a meeting with October Gallery, one of America's oldest African American art galleries, and we are discussing, and a well-known collector who's probably between 70 and 80 starts asking about NFTs. What should they get in? I heard this, I heard that. And then there is a big issue in the art world where we have lately, in the past year, artists' paintings have sold for 7 and 8 figures. NFTs, and not 1 cent of that money has come back to the artist, to the Black community, or anything. And this has been a growing problem. So this was discussion we started early last year. And then NFTs are becoming so hot in the music industry that the independent artists are trying to figure out, how do we use these? How do we leverage these? Can this really be a way to help us with our art? So everybody's wondering, everyone's trying to understand that it really seems like it's a saving grace, but is it? So the person who's going to answer that for us is the founder of Black People in Cryptocurrency. She's a mommy, she's teacher, she's just about everything, but she knows some blockchains, and she gets into the space in every area to make sure that our community, as a community, we're represented and we're protected. And she's really good at figuring out what's real and what's not. So I'm going to introduce you to the one and only Deidra McIntyre, and then she's going to give us that lesson in blockchain. Hi, Deidra.
Hi, Jacqueline. We made it. We made it to the other side. A little delayed, but it should be worth everyone's time. How is everyone?
Yes, awesome. So
Good.
introduce yourself, Deidra. Let everyone know who you are.
No problem. I'm Deidra McIntyre. Sometimes on Facebook, you'll see my full name, Deidra Ramsey McIntyre. I'm founder of the Facebook group Black People in Cryptocurrency, which has been around since September 2017. We are actually the oldest Black specific Facebook crypto group on Facebook, at least that one that was publicly searchable. At the time that we launched our group, a group of us, we wanted to find a group and we couldn't find a group. So we were like, all right, we'll create a group and we'll state exactly what it is, Black People in Cryptocurrency. So that's kind of how we came about. And then we ended up networking with a number of other people, like the oldest blogger is Eduardo Jackson. He had his blog since 2014, so off of Facebook. And then there was another secret group that is now actually searchable called Crypto Culture, which was, for good reason, kept their group secret so they could talk about trades, because at that time, the culture in 2017, everything was being banned from social media in terms of if you were talking about cryptocurrency. So it was a risk to be public. So, only a few people were really, hammering at it. I think Boyce Watkins was talking a little bit about Bitcoin only, but at that time, there were about a good 400, 500 cryptocurrencies. And we wanted to kind of break it open to talk beyond Bitcoin, what was happening in the space. So fast forward here today, almost 3.5 years later, and there are a number of different genres that have sprung from Bitcoin culture. Now, the coding for all these genres always existed from the beginning of when Bitcoin launched, but actually applying a name in terms of decentralized finance, or in this case, non-fungible tokens, and categorizing these different ways in which people can sell things, basically. We have this new terminology for the technology that was kind of always there from the beginning, that the software engineers knew. Even those who were on the Bitcoin platform knew what could be bundled together and to produce a certain effect. So today we're going to focus on non-fungible tokens. So I don't know if there are any questions before I get started. In terms of my background, I actually have a bachelor's in journalism and a master's in education, and I taught high school for a number of years. But in between all of that, I worked for a .com in the late 90s, where I was a production manager. And that's one of the ways I entered into technology. And I can still consult on websites and various natures. So crypto came to me as one of my .com contacts told me that he wanted some information about this Bitcoin thing in 2016. And I told him, I said, well, I kind of saw it in 2013, but ignored it, wasn't really paying attention to what was going on. And he was like, look, I need your journalist, write me a plain English document. I want to know everything, throw in the kitchen sink. So after I wrote that document in 2016, I was kind of in shock. I was kind of looking like, oh, wow, there's a whole ecosystem behind this of what I thought was a gaming token in 2013. So as many people who are non-software engineers, we have two different dates often. We have the date that we first hear about it and dismiss it, and the date where we finally start paying attention and kind of get it. A lot of software engineers it's kind of like they only need to see it once and see the code and be like, I got it. So that's kind of your telltale sign of what is and what isn't authentic. If that, just as they say, have a mechanic as a friend, have a software engineer as a friend and tell them, take a look at something. And they can tell you, they're very black and white people. There's no gray. This is garbage. This is great. That's it. That's it. So, that's what the 2016 report kind of led me into self-study mode for a couple of months. And then before the end of 2017, we were ready to go and launch. We had enough content that we could share beginner level information with people in terms of the technology and what people were building out there. So here I am today to talk about NFTs. I don't know if you want me to share screen. I have a couple of slides to present. 1 second. Share my screen. Oh, hosted. I think you have to make me a host. I don't know if just share.
Well, he can. Do you need me to do that, director?
Oh, I got it. Not a problem. Okay. I see it. 1 second.
And maybe if you can enlarge that. Yeah, there we go.
I don't know if I'm going to put it in present mode and let me know if it looks okay. It's still loading.
Yeah, it's loading.
Can you see it?
Yep.
All right.
Before we move real quick,
good.
Deidra, before we move on, I just wanted to introduce, and he may have had to step back out for a moment, but Shawn Folk, we call him GIF, from Pay Us No Mind. He is the music marketing mogul for independent artists. If you want to know how to market your music, that's who you go to, Pay Us No Mind. But he was in and he came back and he went back out, but he was here. And again, he's here to represent the music industry, to ask those questions because there's so much going on and everybody wants to know. So we are in for our NFT mini lesson. Go ahead, Deidra.
Yeah, I'm not going to let it take too long because I'd rather Jackie fill some questions at me because I understand this is going to be new and I don't want to slam people with too much information. This is actually a presentation from a much more detailed kind of like boot camp project that we were developing. But again, we're Black people in cryptocurrency. The bottom branding, if you see that on Facebook, that's us. We have a page and we have the group is where most people are, and about 14,000 people then in the group.
Yeah.
Okay, NFT, non-fungible token. The term is relatively new. Sometimes you'll hear older people like Andreas Antonopoulos, who's a longtime Bitcoin kind of pundit, talk about deeds, different with various names. But this name that people sometimes hate in the industry or they love in the industry is probably going to stay. NFTs, non-fungible tokens. What exactly is it? It's like a collectible, a digital collectible, or a unique or limited edition artwork, program, music file. All those items can be non-fungible. So if you can think of it in terms of physical things such as trading cards, rare stamps, sneakers. I was out this morning my son trying to get a pair of Nikes that he wanted to do something with. So sneakers, vintage cars, music files, concert tickets, something that is unique. You know, a concert ticket is unique. It has a unique seat, a unique date, a unique artist, a unique venue. It has some specificity to it, and you can resell it, giving a certain time frame. You know, after the event, perhaps it's not worth as much unless it's some type of really cultivated ticket that people just want to possess as a piece of art or something like that. So that's essentially what's happening is this something that existed in the physical world is now going on the blockchain, and we're going to talk about why that is significant. So we have a lot of numbers in our lives. We have serial numbers, driver's license numbers, social security numbers, phone numbers, passport, you name it. And now there are blockchain numbers. When it comes to NFTs, your physical items as well as any digital items such as software or digital art are assigned a unique number by the blockchain network or blockchain network, since there are more than one blockchain now. And the number is called a hash. So when people talk about they minted an NFT or they created a digital artwork or physical artwork and assigned and minted a number for it, that's what they're talking about, this unique number. So basically imagine if you decided you wanted to create a nation, you know, we're going to create Jacqueline Land. And in Jacqueline Land, we all have to have some IDs for our to prove our citizenship. Jacqueline could literally go to create some NFTs and brand it as Jacqueline Land, and all the unique numbers that, you know, citizenship passports that she invents as NFTs, she could issue to the rest of us, and all of us would have these unique numbers that are unique to any other NFT. So some other world they're doing art, and some other world they're doing sneakers or whatever. But like a social security number, like a driver's license number of a particular state, it's going to be a unique number. And that's kind of the power of NFTs, that you don't have to be a corporation or a government to be able to create these unique numbers and create a culture around those unique art numbers. So like I said before, a theater ticket to a specific show, artwork, trading cards, digital sneakers or real sneakers, gaming skins, real estate, virtual property, all of that falls, personal IDs, all of that falls under the NFT category. I'm not going to play this video. It's just essentially part of it is a summary of what I just talked about. And why blockchain? Like I said before, blockchain is a network. It's not, you know, you may have an overriding entity that supports the development, but the blockchain itself, whether it's the Bitcoin blockchain, the Ethereum blockchain, the Tron blockchain, these are networks of computers that individuals around the world add their computers to service the network. So you have different access points of that network that you can create. And NFTs is one of the things that you can create on that. It's not like you're going to go to Amazon and Amazon Web Services to do whatever, or you're going to Google or some other corporate, or going to any respective governments. You actually have points of the internet that you can access and create the hashes that you need for NFTs. So that's kind of why blockchain. It's a network that isn't necessarily, it's not issued by a company or a government. It's just a network that you can access as long as you have internet access. Where can you launch NFTs presently? Like I mentioned, there's a couple of different blockchains. Ethereum is probably the equivalent of, you know, Apple, Google, IBM. That's the one that most people are issuing NFTs on, even if the company names are different, like OpenSea, Nifty Gateway, Rarible above, but they're all essentially on the Ethereum platform. There's also Neo and EOS also have the ability to issue NFTs. Tron also has some capabilities for NFTs. Theta, which is a new live streaming decentralized blockchain, has its own NFT network, and coming soon, Dash and Clever. And that's just a limited number. I think if you in our group, you'll see a number of people talking about some other newer um, kind of protocols, usually running off of Ethereum, that also have additional platforms that allow you to basically sell, mint and sell. So the minting process is just basically getting it registered on a blockchain, and the selling obviously is to actually offer it up to potentially the world to actually buy it or bid on it.
So, real quick, Deidra,
yep.
Which platform that you just mentioned is Bitcoin on? Is Bitcoin?
Well, Bitcoin is a different blockchain.
Okay.
We're talking about that. I didn't list Bitcoin there. Bitcoin, it would be more that you can build a platform on Bitcoin and issue and bundle smart contracts together. You can do it on Bitcoin because the technology is still the same. It just requires more customization. So people were mostly looking for turnkey, which is kind of like the general population. They would end up going to OpenSea, Nifty Gateway, or Rarible, because it's not exactly user friendly, but it's more user friendly than if you were trying to launch NFTs on Bitcoin. But Bitcoin itself has platforms for launching NFTs. They're a little resistant to using the term NFTs because they're like, this is not, I don't know why we get this name from, but the technology to actually issue an identification card, for instance, or something like that exists on Bitcoin as well. But overwhelmingly, when we're talking NFTs, it's mostly Ethereum based NFTs. You're going to see more and more the rise of other platforms like Theta and Tron and even Clever and Dash are going to get into the mix. But usually when people talk about NFTs, if you had to guess the platform, 9 times out of 10, it will be Ethereum, even if it's a third-party token. So even if you're talking about, oh, well, it's on Matic or whatever. Okay, well, Matic is built on Ethereum. So, sometimes it's one step away or two steps away. You can think of a blockchain kind of like, white labels and stuff. So like, you have Ethereum, and then you may have a company that's on top of Ethereum, and they're like, come build on my company or whatever. And you don't need to know it's really Ethereum because it's just harder for people to go directly to Ethereum and to execute these things. So they still going through like these third parties. So I don't know if that clarifies anything a little bit. Okay. And I'll make this document. I didn't make it public, but I'll give the resources to this document as well, so people don't have to copy things down. But where can you find info on NFTs? Cointelegraph is a media within the space, and they have a quick guide. As a matter of fact, this is an image from their quick guide, so you're on the page. CoinMarketCap, which people go through for a lot of things in terms of figuring out what the price of Bitcoin is, but they have like a whole learn area, and they have they also rank NFTs based on market cap, and then CoinMarketCap's they have a lesson on NFTs as well. So if I click one of these, let's see what happens. I don't know if you can still see can you see the page that I've linked to?
Yes.
Yes. So CoinMarketCap has a ranking. See, Theta is already on the list, but they have ranking of all these different products, like Decentraland, which is like a Sims type environment where you can actually buy digital property, and it has all the specs in terms of the geography and stuff. So this is where you can learn about different companies that have primarily built on top of Ethereum blockchain, but they basically represent different ways in which to execute an NFT. The other one I mentioned, I think, was this one. Oh, sorry, not that one. I had left some of them open, but they may have closed. I must have closed them by accident. Cointelegraph. they mainly come from a perspective of gaming, which was one of the more original ways in which people were using NFTs anyway, for gaming environments. Computer's running a little slow, sorry. So you have this breakdown of what they are and why they're exciting, blah, blah, blah. Very nice visual type thing. And CoinMarketCap has a lesson on NFTs that they just recently, sometimes they redo articles, so this one is not that old. This is from January. But if you do web search, you can find references to NFTs going back to 2014, 2000, and 15, 2016. It's not, what's new is the marketing of it and the taking of the marketing and specifically discussing art, which is actually more visually attractive and appealing than talking about NFTs from the perspective of say, oh shoot, I'm sorry about that. From the perspective of say IDs, identification, or property or real estate.
Okay.
So only a few more slides. I just wanted to show some prominent Black people that have been in space for a very long time. Cash, as Dave prefers to be called, Cash Patterson is probably one of the oldest Black people in NFTs. She has been in the crypto space since about 2011 and was the first to release digital sneakers on OpenSea as an NFT. And she has a whole game behind it. I'm not going to show the video. And she's Cash as a developer and of two different platforms, two different areas, Binance and Consensus. And Eduardo Jackson has a game called Cinema Draft that's still in development. He actually had released it into beta over more than a year ago and then took it down and has having it rebuilt. But his also, it will be implementing NFTs as part of gameplay. And it's like fantasy sports, except fantasy cinema, where you're doing prediction markets on the releases of movies and things like that. So he's out of Morehouse. And finally, Carlos Romero, former Harlemite who's now in North Carolina and a fine arts graduate. He actually consulted on the development of a blockchain called Codex Protocol, one of the earlier NFT platforms that doesn't get as much attention, but he consulted from the perspective of a fine artist. And it often speaks about, the case for artists being compensated for using this new technology. A lot of times his own personal website still uses traditional finance, and such as PayPal and other means, because that's what people are used to. And then sometimes when a final sale happens, he goes back and he registers it on to confirm the sale on blockchain until people are really accustomed to actually using an easy way to buy with cryptocurrency. That's kind of often what happens with his tech, but he's very well versed on really what needs to happen to bring more people into the space. And then this is just me, my background, and our website, Black People in Cryptocurrency, and where you can reach out for more information. I didn't want to make this too long because I really love engagement as much as possible and to hear about what's going on. Let me skip out of this. Hear about what's going on.
We do have a couple questions, so yeah. So if you bring your camera back up, bring yourself back on camera.
Cuts off, and I am back.
So first question is coming from, and thank you. I found out, Deidra, while we were going here that we are live at Booth Central. So we're live everywhere.
Great,
so
fantastic.
Everybody can see us and everything. So it's awesome. And just to let everybody know, this will be ongoing. We're kicking off today, but we're going to be on various different days. They'll be promoted throughout the month of April. And if you want to come get a virtual booth, all of those opportunities are available. So now here's the question. Is the NFT craze a bubble? That's the first question from Jason Moore.
Jason, it's not, and the reason it isn't is because NFTs aren't new. It's just new to you. So NFTs is probably one of the oldest, older than decentralized finance. So if you've heard of DeFi and you've been hearing, excuse me, hearing about that for a while, NFTs are actually older. No one was just talking about it except for the software engineers that are in the space. And all it really is a bundling of smart contracts. And a quick way of saying smart contracts, this is a way to automate things that you're not dealing with a human interface. You're dealing with you as a human connecting with a contract that specifies specific rules based on what you do. I don't know. It's kind of vague to kind of describe that. But what they did was they bundled different packages to kind of make things easier for creatives to sell their wares digitally. So it's not going anywhere, but what's being marketed, and it's been marketed heavily for the month of February because a lot of VC money is in the NFT and DeFi space. So you get these boons of marketing dollars that you start articles and things popping, you get celebrities talking about it and all sorts of things. But they're giving you basically the elementary school level of what is really happening in the NFT space. Um, at some point, you're just going to be interfacing and just not even know it's NFTs. If you're buying a concert ticket, you end up buying a concert ticket with your phone, and you realize with that concert ticket, it says you can resell the ticket, but only capped at 10% off the face value. And then it says to the next person that you sold it to, well, you can resell it, but only at 5% off the face value. And then the next third person that gets it, it says, nah, you can't resell this thing and you can't refund it. That's going to be NFTs
Okay.
because it's a contract behind that. In this instance, the digital art or the digital asset is the actual concert ticket. And the coding underneath is the blockchain. It's a smart track executing, saying, I know it went to this ownership. It went from this wallet to this person's phone. And these are the rules that I need to put forth from the creator of the concert, the promoter of the concert, that said ahead of time on the back end, as they're promoting, I will allow 2 resales of this ticket only, and this is how much profit they can take. And then I basically just cut scalping away from the paradigm. But no one's going to really know that's NFTs. They're just going to say, wow, the technology of digital tickets have really gotten well. And that same digital ticket can gamify stuff, can send message to you where the after party is based on, some stuff that the user controls. So, Jacqueline has a ticket and I have a ticket. But Jacqueline is interested in Sunday brunch the next day, and I'm interested in the after party. So the smart contract knows based on information that we decided to share, because it might say, hey, I want to know, do you go to after parties or would you just rather have a nice talk with the artist ahead of time? Would you pay for that? So we have different individual tastes. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to the after party. I don't care about it. But if Jacqueline's like, look, I'm going to the concert. I want to rest up at home, but I'll tune in I'll go to some virtual tea thing the next day. We have different needs. So the same marketing department is thinking about what are the categories? How do I categorize the fan? How do I get them to pull more money out of their pocket for customizable experiences? All of that's going to be in the NFT. So NFTs are not going to go anywhere, but the programming behind them are going to go beyond, create some digital art and see how much you can sell it for. It's the programming behind it that makes the NFT a valuable type of production. It's not necessarily that you're just putting art out there. So that's not going to go away. People are just going to get their devices will be able to handle it kind of user friendly, like kind of like we handle web stuff.
Oh, right. This is exciting. I'm just envisioning so much because you started talking about marketing.
Mm-hmm.
This is exciting. And I want everyone to understand we're having this conversation because one, yes, we have real questions and but we have real problems that we're looking to solve. And this is where, Deidra becomes that person that can really, give us some clarity and help us see how we can leverage this technology to solve problems. And, that's what we're here about. So you will see manifestations from this conversation and from this Black Book Art and Finance Fair. And afterwards, make sure you please share it. Share it with your children. Your children really should be part of this conversation. And so, okay, so hopefully we're unfrozen. They said we froze for a moment. Are we unfrozen? Okay, it may be it might be the end user. Okay. So the next question he has here is, what's the best platform to create an NFT? Is there one platform better than the other, or it's based on your objectives?
I mean, we can look at some of them. It's really based on the platform itself and also what you're trying to do. OpenSea is one of the oldest platforms. Um, about 3 years ago, in 2017, there was actually a game that made the mainstream news that some people may be familiar with. It was called Crypto Kitties. And a lot of the mainstream media covered it, not knowing it was an NFT, because at that time, no one knew the NFT term existed in the blockchain world, but they did know that there was some game in which people were buying these virtual kittens that were unique, and they would grow up and you could trade them and all that kinds of stuff like that. And because so many people were playing this game, and it messed up other people on the Ethereum blockchain. It slowed their transactions down to a crawl. So because it slowed the transactions down to the crawl, it made a lot of news, because sometimes, if it bleeds, it leads. And our crypto blockchain coverage is always about what went wrong in terms of a hack or in terms of things not working right, more than what people are doing creatively on it. So CryptoKitties is on OpenSea. So OpenSea is kind of the platform where people are buying and selling these virtual cats. But there's also a Nifty Gateway, which is produced by the same company as Gemini. So the Winklevoss brothers company have this platform. They're more trying to be like the Christie's of NFTs. So to be able to be listed there, it's kind of like they don't let everybody randomly list. And another popular one is Rarible. So I don't know if I want to go back and share that. One screen has these three. Application window, 1 second. Okay. So if I go back to this.
Go ahead, Deidre.
No, wrong page. This one, platforms to sell and mint. These are the three, basically three of the oldest, along with Codex. So if I click on one of them, I click on OpenSea so you can take a look.
So as we can see, there are 3 platforms.
Well, there's more than three, but these 3 are kind of like the longest ones in the network. A lot of the media are talking about some of the newer ones, but when you talk about some of the older ones, these 3 are the ones that come to mind as much. This is the first one, OpenSea. If I go to rankings, I probably should see, a lot of stuff is digital type stuff. If I go to rankings, oh, CryptoPunks is also very extremely old too. I don't know if you can find CryptoKitties here or not. I think when I share screen, my video conks out. Unfortunately, it just
Yeah, that's what I think.
switches over. But I just want to. I'm going to show the other two just so you get an idea of what they look like. Nifty Gateway is oh, so if you've ever used Gemini Exchange, the same company owns Nifty Gateway. You're going to find more fine artists there. There's an application to kind of list.
Okay.
They actually have some of the highest sales of NFTs.
Okay, yeah.
So you see more. You know, the listing is a little bit higher and that sort of thing. So again, owned by Gemini. And then the third one is Rarible. And you know, NFTs are not just art. You know, you music files, even computer programs,
Yeah, I did want to talk about, yeah.
computer programs behind art, which is why it's implementation in games. You can create like, you know, a gaming skin, essentially something that on a surface level looks like art, but when you import it into a game, it gives you a specific
Has
power or
functionality.
function within the game. So you have to think almost three-dimensionally in terms of. So I'm going to come back to the chat, but those three are
Okay.
like the kind of the oldest guards of the space. Let me stop
We're going to
sharing.
get to your question. We know somebody has a
Okay.
question in the chat, and this is Big Rob. Already, Big Rob wants to know, I want to get into the NFT space without giving up my little bit of crypto. Other than NBA Top Shot and Vive, are there other platforms that are easy to enter with USD?
I would say not. But here's the thing. Are you really in the space if you're using NBA Top Shot and V? Or are you kind of like, I gave you the equivalent once in my group, that there's the NFT space in which you are buying and selling within the function of the code itself. The function of the code itself is that there's a transfer ownership. And then there are the platforms that come out of the venture capital culture that try to make a hybrid. So everyone's trading, you know, NBA Top Shots and stuff like that, but you don't really own that content. It's not like you could take a clip and then make a creative around that clip that you bought and then really resell that outside of their market. So in equivalent, you know, a lot of times with the ones that are dealing in USD, you have the equivalent of a bowling shoe scenario. You can get you some shoes because you playing bowling and you renting, but you don't own them shoes. You're not walking out of the place with those shoes. It's the bowling alley shoes and it's reused shoes. So know the culture, know the environment that you're in, and know that the reason why the crypto thing is more valuable is you really do have a global market and a global paradigm. You really might be selling to someone in Ghana and you're transferring the ownership over. Now, mind you, transferring the owner does not mean that they created the work. The creator still remains the creator, and you can have code behind that NFT that compensates you on secondary and tertiary and infinite sales if the NFT platform has released that technology to people that are creating the NFTs. And that's kind of like another debate. But
well, let's stop right there. Let's
yes,
stop right there.
right.
I want to stop right there because you brought up a very important point. So Mercer, I'm not sure where you are. He's, Mercer is one of our young men in the 70 plus. So Mercer, I'm not sure what platform you're on, but if any of you guys from October Gallery artists, listen, I don't know if you caught what she just said. The opportunity, we have the art, but what it is, it's backed by the art is programming these series of smart contracts that, you know, that make a few more things happen. And she stated, and what's is so important, and this is what we're having with, you know, art. You have artwork, somebody passes on, you know, you may get the estate, like, this is beautiful, but I don't want to, you know, I already got a house, I got my mama's art, so-and-so's art. So I might take it, either I can't sell it directly, so I may take it to an auction house. Now, the first thing is, we don't own any auction houses. So we're taking them to auction houses, you know, not in our community. People are buying them. They get sold for, like we said, 7, 8 figures, and nobody gets paid. But if that was done as an NFT based on how you construct your contract, she said you can get paid even when it's traded. So the actual author, creator or artist, the original person who created the work, can still benefit even when it's sold, you know, throughout different people. And right now, that's the issue. You know, once somebody buys the artwork, they have it, they keep it, whatever they do with it, it travels all over. But the artist never gets, you know, they may get notoriety, but rarely will the artist ever get any more financial compensation from that. So that's a good opportunity right here.
Yeah, the other point about the I almost call them hybrid platforms, because you had a lot of venture capital money that came into the NFT space once they got a halfway idea of what it was, which was very recently, maybe over the summer, and they just started a marketing blitz in February, and they decided they didn't want to play by all of the rules of NFTs. They want to kind of recreate things. So while there's a tremendous buzz, Verve and Flow and all these other things, you're not getting the full benefit as a creative from those types of, or even from as a consumer from those type of environments. It's almost like, let's make it popular, let's advertise, let's get people excited. Let's maybe that, you know how marketing is. Some of them sales is done offline before and then done on a blockchain. So it's like, oh, so and so sold this. Well, I'm sure they had the buyer ahead of time. This sold for $77 million on the. No, that person is not a part of the crypto space. They sold that ahead of time, and then they helped. Just like we know that Meg Thee Stallion was not really giving out Bitcoin. We just know it was like Cash App. I mean, this is marketing. It is marketing. So you're excited. Everyone's excited. Everyone's, as they say, fools rush in, and I've been a fool too, so I rush into some things too. You rush in, and you say, well, this is good enough because this works for me. I can see this. The buzz is here, But remember what Dave Chappelle told us: is this 3-card Monty? And you don't know what to get. You don't know the rig is up. So you rush it in. Everybody's talking about it. It's in the mainstream publications, and you read about it. And they wrote an article on a whole lot of Black people. They don't never write articles on us in technology, and yet those articles came out lickety split about Black people in NFTs. Why? Because we're not benefiting from that.
They think we're consumers.
Yes, consumers. We get you in here because it died down in 2017 when crypto critics and crypto punks and all that stuff came out, when it was just the white boys. Now that it got you excited through Clubhouse, here you come running in with your money because and the fees are higher than ever. Just like all old school taxation. Just like you pay more for
just like the cornerstone.
That's the new hood, and you rushing in. You rushing in, and they taking them fees. So you're rushing in, and if you're not realizing, okay, great, they've got these little clips and these animations. You're not questioning, hey, well, does the athlete in this clip get any compensation? No, they do not. You're not questioning, do I really own this? And what does ownership mean? So if I buy this thing, then can I put it on t-shirts and sell it? No, you cannot. So you're rushing into this excitement because you're seeing the 3-card Monte. You're saying, well, so-and-so sold that hunk of junk for $7 grand, or so-and-so sold this for $8 grand. And so you're thinking, I'm going to get him. And then they give you a little taste. They give you a little piece. You sell some sucker card and you made $100 on it. Oh, shoot. But beware the 3-card Monte. I mean, that's all I'm saying. I'm not opposed to the buzz or the marketing, but look at it for what it is. It's bringing a lot of attention to the NFT space, which is a good thing, but it's not giving you the whole picture of what you should look at in terms of an artist, in terms of examining the platforms and saying, look, what is the best one that gives me the most control, that if I'm selling something and then the next owner resells it, how can I set the price of what I get back from that resale? And then from the resale of the resale and the resale of the resale and the resale of the resale. So now that I've not sold it one time, as long as it remains popular and keeps reselling, that I actually have a residual income from that. And that goes for anything. That goes for the music NFTs, to the art NFTs, to computer programming NFTs, to concert tickets, to whatever you're trying to sell of physical or virtual property, that keeps going on and on and on, that you have some income from that. And you're not going to get that from you're not going to get that from the USD platforms, and the USD platforms are going to limit. Can your neighbor's cousin from the Caribbean, can they buy your stuff? No, they cannot. Can someone from Africa, and can you do a collab with an artist from Africa, say with a stone artist out of Zimbabwe? No, you cannot. So how much are you giving up that impacts us, just because this looks like the easiest and the quickest, and they made it user friendly and it has all the buzz, so let me get in there? How much are you giving up that causes us to be even further behind? So you have to look at the value, and also realize that crypto assets don't remain a fixed price. They can rise and they can drop. So I've always found it debatable, the argument of saying that, if you sell it in Ethereum, it could be, your art can be worth much more later on. No, the price just went up, basically, on that particular piece of artwork. But it could be, because if you have a buyer at that price point, then it does mean that the value of what people pay for it would go up. So if it's offer for sale at some point, and someone buys it for the equivalent of $50, and then Ethereum doubles, so that means that the same Ethereum price is now $100, but then there's still a buyer for it, and then your value of your art went up. But to the holder, if you have Ethereum piece of artwork for $100, and Ethereum price quadruples and now it's 400, and they can't now get a buyer, then they don't necessarily have a piece of artwork that's worth $400. So you should be knowledgeable of all of those type of things, and then take your time. There's no rush, even though there's this marketing blitz right now going on and getting people excited, and you're reading it everywhere. It's a hot thing. There's no reason to rush in, because I said NFTs go back to 2015, 2006. It's not new. So the way in which you want to try to execute something, and mind you, you'll have to probably bring your buyers with you. You've got to figure out a way to educate your buyers and bring them into the space so that they consume in this new way. And the platforms are going to constantly change to make that an easier way of people being interfaced. Because what you want is, you want a global marketplace, not just a limited marketplace for your stuff. I mean, I have my husband has family in the Caribbean, and one of his cousins is a artist that has, all her life sold pictures to Japan and stuff like that. So just a factor, shipping pictures and all that kind of stuff, like shipping issues and all kinds of issues like that. But this is something that makes it easier for her to transfer ownership, and then watch that record go on to, even if she's doing physical or digital stuff, watch that go on to other people throughout the world. But as artists also, you have to think three-dimensionally, and musicians as well, you know, how is your creative going to enter the esports or gaming space? And what does that mean? Because that's now another window for you to enter into the NFT markets. Because a lot of the NFTs, in terms of creativity, weren't starting with the art space. It actually started in the gaming space. So think in terms of that as well, joining teams in which your creatives become a part of a new game that is just happens to be popular, and then you have residual income from that.
That's awesome. James, we found out when we were in our pre-production meeting that you're pretty good with this, with the blockchain and all. And he's an artist. He's a production artist, a film artist, artwork. He's definitely the art world. And just to let everybody know, James, he's our producer, and it's Life Thief Productions. And I met him because he's also one of our producers at First World Theater Ensemble. So, James, you share a little bit. You ask some questions, and I'm going to run and find a quick little video we can watch about the Black Stream Renaissance. And so we can kind of get an idea of where we are. Okay. And I also want to share with everyone that some of the people that are helping make this the Black Book Fair possible is October Gallery. And you can visit them at octobergallery.com. And they have released the second edition. That's what we're going to see about this Black Stream Renaissance. But they released the second edition of their book by Mercer and Evelyn Redcross. It's called Connecting People with Art, Contemporary African-American Art. And it has become a real staple statement, and it's an historical overview. And, and I'm sharing that. It's a really important book that we should all have. A wonderful coffee table book as well. But that was just one of the things that made me remember, when was the last time most people been in a Black bookstore? And how many Black people have really roamed Black bookstores? And I'm finding less and less Black people that know a Jawanza Kunjufu, J.A. Rogers, Ivan Van Sertima. And that was like the basic. That was being basic. That's not saying you deep knowledge in my day. But now where we are, no one even knows. And so I just think, as being a bookworm ever since I can remember, including Heidi Encyclopedia Brown, I was 11 years old before I discovered my first Black book. So I was always a bookworm. But I just think, I don't know if it's going to be online. I know like Barnes and Nobles and all came in effect and everybody went in there and they're great experiences. But I just came to realize last year the importance, and we just took it for granted, but the ability to go into a Black bookstore. And it's not just a bookstore, it's a cultural experience. You don't have to seek out books about Black culture or by Black people. And one of the biggest things we don't understand is that when we go to a Black bookstore, there's every genre of reading and everything. They just all happen to be written by Black people. So you don't get this linear view of yourself as a Black person, because you immediately, when you go in the bookstore, you got your diversity of everything. They just happen to all be Black authors. So it shows you that the Black experience is not linear. It's diverse. And so that's one of the emphasis for this. So I'm going to let you go ahead. Did you want to say something, Deidra?
Yeah, that's a use case for NFTs. You can have it an NFT bookstore, NFT Black bookstore, and actually have, you know, the cover art be the NFT, but the entire EPUB, the entire digital book could be in the NFT, and you can actually sell, you know, ebooks that way. I mean, that is a use case for NFTs. And you can, and it's, you know, it's not necessarily just unique; it's also limited edition. So you can just say, well, you know, we have this version of a lot of books are in the public domain, including some of our Black writers. So you can actually create, go to the public domain books and put them in and release the original ones, and then you can actually work with an editorial team and say we updated some new ones, and then just keep issuing them out and actually sell the ebook. A lot of, because people don't necessarily go in bookstores, but I don't think people have stopped reading as much. Maybe the younger generation has stopped reading long form, but you know, definitely our generation still loves to read, even if some of us have gone digital. So you could issue, and then you actually have more of a global market. You have a market that goes for people that have never been able to buy Franz Fanon or anyone else, and be able to buy those works as they, you know, originally were, or updated ones with, you know, new addendums from new researchers. I mean, that's another part of my background is, you know, you can find some Quora articles on me on Kemet and Kush that have,
Yeah.
you know, upwards of 700,000 views, because, you know, I only entered the blockchain space in 2016, but I was always, you know, a history buff and always writing and reading about history. So I actually manage more Kemet groups and African history groups than I do in crypto. So it's kind of like this dual personality I have, that the Kemet people don't know I'm in crypto, and the crypto people are like, wait, I thought I saw you saw something about Kemet and Kush. But you know, that is something that bookstore owners and publishers should actually look and research the best way to execute that. And you can go back to the rich format. I mean, the journalist in me is also going back to media as well and books as well. But at one point, you know, it was very short lived, but you had these media rich books that had links and audio files and all that kind of stuff. Now you can do that in NFTs and actually have that as a global market. So it's actually, this conversation is talk to, hopefully someone have a good business idea to execute something like that. It doesn't always have to be. And then your cover art, you can work with artists. You can create brand new covers for a lot of these works that, you know, center on Black literature or Black history, or make new works that are centered on that because you couldn't get with the publishing houses. So that's a very strong use case for NFTs. And people necessarily know it's an NFT. They just know I'm going to go and buy, you know, Franz Fanon's work, buy cryptocurrency or something like that.
So I'm going to
Awesome.
sound really dumb here because even though Jackie gave me a wonderful intro and said all these nice things about me, I'm not as in depth on NFTs as you all are, or even blockchain as you all are. I mean, I know blockchain from, you know, being involved in the tech world and using it. I mean, originally blockchain was just created to be a security method, really, a secure way of performing transactions, and so I'm going to bring this all the way back to a beginner level, I guess. I hope anybody who's watching doesn't mind that, but I need to go back to kindergarten here. So how might somebody, I mean, you're given examples of use cases for NFTs. For those of us that don't work in the tech world, a use case is just when you give an example of how you would use something in the real world versus the theory of the technology. How is so there a lot of us, a lot of Black folk are involved in the modern era of generating content, creating well, and hey, this YouTube video, if I'm reading correctly, is going to talk about this a little bit. But how would we use NFTs or blockchain to generate a security of income, or perhaps passive income in this world, um, just by using an NFT. I don't quite. I'm not making the connection here in my head.
Yeah, an NFT is just basically a bundle of codes, a bundle of uh, it's essentially a smart contract that between a relationship between a buyer and a seller, that the blockchain verifies that I am the owner slash creator, or if it's sold, then it's just the owner, but that I have put this up and I say that it's mine. And of course I could lie, but essentially I put this up, I said that it's mine, and now I can, with anyone in the world, whether I know them or not, the blockchain can verify that they actually have a certain amount of Ethereum, and they have, put in an offer to buy this thing. And then because I accept that offer to buy this thing, my product is now released. Ownership has been transferred to this other person, and I get the deposit. So you're not dealing now with an Apple Pay, with a Venmo, with a PayPal, with a whatever. It's a computerized network that recognizes that I have a wallet that has, for Ethereum or any other type of cryptocurrency. The buyer has a wallet, and they want what I have, and the network states that I own it. So they put in an offer to the network, and the offer is received by me, and then the product is released and the ownership is transferred to the other individual. So the blockchain layer is serving as the validator and the transactor of this peer-to-peer commerce. Now, we have these third-party companies that are in between, because it's not really peer-to-peer, because you have these platforms that are making it easy for me as a non-technical person to offer that creative for sale. And they have flaws within themselves. There was a hack as recent as last week, or a couple of days ago, not even, of Nifty Gateway, and somebody hacking and taking a bunch of NFTs, or millions of dollars worth. So there's always that flaw that the original creators of Bitcoin said. You really need to have things peer to peer, because third parties, if they're hacked, there's always a danger to the consumer or the seller of them losing their funds. order, and somebody's computer somewhere in the world handled that transaction. And they don't know until the transaction is complete. Then once the transaction is complete, oh, I made a mint of money. I don't know where it came from, but I got a drop in fees because that was a big transaction. Just don't know what it was. Now, after the fact, someone can backtrack and say, well, Daimler made it public that this is the wallet address that we use. And then they can see, okay, well, this is the amount that was made. So the person, whether they want to admit they earned that in fees or not is another story, but they can see that. So the same thing with NFTs, at least in theory, but because we're still using these third-party companies like NFC Gateway, OpenSea, Rarible. But in theory, it's the transaction layer that's happening between me and the buyer and seller. I don't need to know who the buyer is because everything is being validated by this network of computers that anybody in the world has put their computers in. So someone who might be might be a miner for Ethereum who hates NFTs his computer might be handling NFT transactions because they don't need to know. They just need to have the machine vying for the ability to handle the transactions.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Now, thank you for doing that, James, because I'm pretty sure other people might have felt the same. Well, I do want to ask about the music industry, but I'm gonna give you a moment, get a break, take you some water. And I never finished my statement before, but this is made possible by our partners, October Gallery, Unite for Action, and that's unitefораction.org. And then we have Nor Girl Magic, and you can see, hey,
Wow.
the magic is real. And we, and of course, we're being produced by Light Thief Productions, and that's light-thiefproductions.com. And this is all part of the launch of Master Griot Publishing Incorporated. While it's been around for a while, we formalized in 2020. And our next step is going to be our own live streaming channel. So and we're excited about that because a lot of things you hear taking place. We're going to be edutainment, live performance, TV, and we are going to launch our crowdfunder. So we want you to get involved. We're going to have some great fun things. And yeah, this is, we're just going to be doing some great things. So what's going to be next is after the day, we come back on April 2nd. Probably we'll come back with some authors on April 2nd. So you'll get an update. Everyone that has, registered, you'll get an update as far as the next show. Another thing, though, I do want everybody to focus on right now. On April 16th, we'll be doing a watch party of a show called Sojourner. Now, for all of my friends who couldn't get to Philly, Sojourner has been running since '98. Was one of the most dynamic shows before Harriet Tubman was Sojourner. So if you thought Harriet Tubman is a hoot, Sojourner is a hoot and a half. So it's a dynamic play, and in this pandemic time, they have filmed it, and there'll be you can view it on demand. So we're going to do a watch party on April 16th. From this classic play Sojourner, and we're excited because it's the first time we get to take it off the stage and bring it globally. So we're excited about that opportunity. And James, did you have any more questions? Or are you going to? Okay, the video is queued up. We're going to look a little bit here at the Black Stream Renaissance, which is a term that was coined forever, and where Black people began to actually control Black art. And then we're going to come back.
Here is an excerpt from the October Gallery art book, Connecting People with Art. This book is available at octobergallery.com. See if you agree or disagree with this. Our national and international patrons and artists have witnessed firsthand the creation and development of the African American art industry, which prior to the 1970s was almost non-existent. This group of patrons and artists are part of what we call the Black Stream Renaissance. The term, blackstream, was used by black artists in the 1900s who were denied admission to the art mainstream. More recently, fine art appraiser Edward S. Spriggs of Atlanta, Georgia brought the term, blackstream, to our attention. Feeling there was a need to identify this important time of formative awareness of, belief in and commitment to African American art, we coined the phrase Black Stream Renaissance. We further defined this growth period as being marked by a collective community conscientiousness that recognizes the creative, cultural and financial viability of African American visual expression. The interplay between artists, community members and available resources has created a fabric-like cohesion characterized by artists willing to create, a community that can inspire its artists, a community that accepts its own cultural creations as having value, sufficient community resources to sustain the exchange of value. The patrons and artists of the Black Stream Renaissance purchased and sold art, displayed it at home and at work and shared it with friends, family, co-workers and the general public. In short, they have made African American art an indispensable part of their everyday lives. The African American community is effectively supporting and building an art industry, perpetuated primarily by its own members. Artists, galleries, museums and others in the art business realize that because of proper education, focused marketing and love of culture, African Americans have shifted their habits and allocated to the visual arts a portion of the more than $750 billion they spend each year. This group has invested precious time and valuable resources in African American art and has thereby continued to give it value. To be clear, the Black Stream Renaissance welcomes the mainstream but does not have to rely on it for content, aesthetic validation or financial continuance. Educator and curator David C. Driscoll said, "The boom in black art has come about not in the market of galleries of the auctions at Sotheby's and Christie's, but from ordinary black people. Most African American artists market and exhibit in the African American community. Successful black art festivals and expos, where artists sell and exhibit, recognize the importance of marketing to this special community. It is in this community where the strength and the value of African American art begins. It is this community that has provided the foundation for the Blackstream Renaissance." This is an excerpt from the October Gallery art book, Connecting People with Art. This book is available at octobergallery.com.
All right, and we're back. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that video. And we're back with Deidra and Jacqueline.
Well, as you can see, I think they termed it, now this is why you need the book, Connecting People with Art. But I think it was a period from 2005 or, no, from 1985 to 2005 was a big era where Black people really went in and purchased art. And like they said, the artists didn't need to go mainstream to get their art, that we had our own Black stream where people were buying, because Black art, especially in the 80s and stuff, on the mainstream wasn't valued as much, and wasn't sought out as much, and people didn't know. But then when they started doing all of those expos and things, that was like the height of the expos. So it was happening with the Black Expo, then they turned it into the Black Art Expos, and they were all around the country, and people and artists and vendors would travel across the country and travel these shows, and they literally launched businesses. Just to let you know, one business that launched from the Black Expo was Carol's daughter. I literally was in a booth next to her at October Gallery. At the Art Expo, I was actually in the booth next to Carol's daughter. First I was at her at the Black Expo, then she was at October Gallery. She literally first started by traveling the circuit, and it launched business. Another guy, I don't know if y'all remember the movie Cool Running.
Yeah.
But Cool Runnings, a lot of the artists, movie artists and stuff would get a product or something from their movie, and then they would do the Black circuit and literally would launch products. So the opportunity and possibilities of what we have to do and what we can do and what we have done, I think first of all, we don't even know or realize what we have done and what's possible. So, some of that is like not having access to information. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know. and we believe these thoughts about ourselves that really just aren't true. We cut ourselves off our thoughts because we have linear views about ourselves. We're trying to convince other people of our humanity, but I don't think sometimes we understand our own humanity, that we're not what people say we are. So sometimes you young people, when you're talking about, why y'all always talking about the past, sometimes the speaking about the past or before or different things and about different other Black people gives you more holistic view of of us as a person, and we're not just in America. It's not just your neighborhood. There's a whole world out here, and just as diverse as the world is, so that diversity is equivalent to the Black experience, and you're only limited about what by your imagination. You don't have to be or do or function any specific type of way, which means we're not limited. So we can, if we were willing to come together, be strategic, create some of these vertical paradigms. And this is what the opportunity NFT has in the particular area of art. And in some of these hard areas, because, visual art, like I told you, they've had issues, but we've seen where we can control it. But the biggest area we have in control has been in music. We are, culture,
Yeah,
the
I
world
think
robbers of us. So let
I
us
think
know what opportunities are to create vertical paradigms in music.
yeah, for both art and music, I think we need to think further ahead than where we are. I know a lot of this is new to people and they're thinking, but our real issue is we're replicating the same problem that exists in the current world. We need to create our own platforms. There's no reason I'm sitting here with the information I have and the connection I have with Black software developers that we're not talking about building our own platforms. I mean, it's come a problem now that we pretty much don't expect any funding, and maybe it's a good thing from the current venture capital culture. And the reason why I say it's a good thing is they don't necessarily create great products, even with the stuff that they're funding. So they kind of have this envy of some of the terrible things that are being funded, and then they realize that OpenSea, Niftygate, Rarible, I mean, Niftygate was hacked just a couple of days ago. They're not at their final stages. They're still at their infant style stages. So we need to talk about, let's talk about making these platforms for both the art industry and the music industry so that our people and all people, not just other Black people, can deploy their creatives in a marketplace. So that's kind of like the first stage, because whether I'm talking about music or I'm talking about art, I'm still really sending you to these existing platforms in which, to be frank, I mean, a lot of these places, if you're a darker skinned person, your identification of your KYC is not going through. And then they make you feel like it's your problem as the customer. So to kind of get away around all of these abuses that exist in the current world, in terms of, well, we don't know who you say you are and all this kinds of stuff. We just need to create our own spaces. We need to create our own platforms to help facilitate people to be able to deploy their NFTs, whether they're music or art. And, in terms of the music space, it's not a world that I know well, but I can tell, just kind of hanging back, that you really have to think more, go back to the indie spirit and say, okay, what is it as I, as a musician, need to learn to be able to do this myself versus going through the studio and developing our own marketing teams that are more responsive to our artists being compensated. And the artist is everyone. The artist is the athlete. I mean, people are cheerleading NBA Top Shot, but the subjects of the work are not being paid by the NFTs that are selling for millions of dollars. And yet coaches and owners are having meetings to talk about blockchain. Mark Cuban announced we're going to meet and then list all these people. But where are all the Black people? There were no Black coaches in that list. It was predominantly white men and I think a few Asian men. They're trying to figure out how to profit off of Black bodies again.
Wow.
And the few
Strange
people
fruit.
that it's the same thing over and over again. So the few people that may get, a check, um, doesn't compensate for the many who are seeing their likeness and et cetera being sold and resold, and they're getting no compensation for it. The compensations are, well, you're popular and you'll realize it in other means. No, you need to realize that every transaction that has me as a subject, I should be written into the compensation line. And not just me. There was a person who videoed it. There's a person who did the animation of the graphics in the production that was seen. There are people that are in the background. If you happen to catch a referee that's in the background, his likeness, there's no reason. It's not the technology that's the problem. It's the people who are deciding to ignore certain applications of the technology and want to exclude certain people that are the problem. And Black people kind of fundamentally, understand that more so, I think, than other people. It's not to say that there aren't Black people that are just status quo type folk, because we know that there are, but overwhelmingly we kind of understand what it means to be cut out of a pie that you created, especially even as Black women. The other day, my daughter got her hair braided, and the teen that was braiding her hair, she runs track, and she was saying how, she goes to a mixed school and she usually braids all the hair before the girls run track. And the white girls was like, oh, give me some of them boxer braids. And she was like, what are you talking about, boxer braids? Like what the boxers wear. We call them boxer braids. She's talking about cornrows. You can't keep forking over our stuff and letting other people redefine, what we already have names for, that we have a long cultural history of, and that sort of thing. So, when we talk about bringing music or bringing other aspects to the NFT space, we have to think of it from the standpoint of being, on the production end of it. And, doing the Tyler Perry, doing the let's do all of this and then address the problems that creatives and artists have faced within this, to give them greater control and greater monetization of what they're putting out there, and see how that works, because I think we can create a better system. So it really doesn't answer your question directly about what should the musician do. What they should be aware of is that,
no, the answer is a lot. Especially now, I really wish Gift could have stayed, but because that's kind of what he advocates for. Like, just understand, and the channel and all that I represent, for years, I've been in marketing since the 90s. And what I had specialized in, what I call the emerging market. I love the independent market. I am anti-mainstream. That's just my nature. I'm going to go anti-mainstream. And there's a whole lot of us. So our station is called Original Wildabout. And those are the people that are wild about independent artists. Independent artistry, being independent. We kind of anti-mainstream, but we where the rubber hits the road, where the fan meets the artist. And so we're about educating. And that's how I met up with people and all, like Gift, because he's a good marketer, but he has a whole series of instructions. So if you go to Pay Us No Mind on YouTube, subscribe to his channel. If you are in the music industry, if you record your spoken word, which I feel everybody should be doing, but if you record your spoken word, you need to understand how all of these platforms. So he breaks down how to stream, and then he has relationships with Spotify, all of them. He breaks down how they are, which ones, why you would go. He advocates, where, the art, we're just not getting anything. And he lets you know, like, really where the pennies are. And then he gives you a real strategy. He said, you're not making, you don't have 10 million sales and stuff. Stop trying to emulate that. And he gives people the real deal about how you can really make some money, at least make some money off your art, And so he's really good. And I think he has a tech background, and he'd been talking about Bitcoin a little bit before. So I think his already interest in that, and he takes cash, and he's been taking Bitcoin payments at least for 2 years. So I think, you know, when it kept coming around, that's him. He jumps on it, he finds out about it, figures it out, and then he shares it with the artist, the independent artist. So
yeah, I think with music, I mean, people are encouraging musicians to release whole songs and albums, but I don't think they should really start that way. I think, you know, start with the hook, start releasing samples of their own music, and you let those samples and float those around and see how, you know, it's nothing wrong with a toe dip versus a plunge, because you don't want to put yourself into a situation where, wow, I gave all of that away and this person took that music NFT and did that way, end up in a movie, and now I'm not compensated for it. But you can play around with some things, and I was saying to
so someone can take someone's music, put it in an NFT, and claim ownership.
Well, if you're selling an ownership, that's what that means. You're selling your ownership. That doesn't mean that they can now say that they created it, but if they own it, you sold the ownership, then they can.
If you sell the ownership, okay. So if you sell the ownership,
that's what NFTs are supposed to mean.
Yeah,
it's
okay.
Supposed to mean, that's not what NBA Top Shot is doing. They're doing something else. But what it's supposed to mean is you have sold your ownership. So if you sold your ownership, the person can put it in a video game and stuff, and you don't get compensated for it and all that kind of stuff. You sold.
Now, can you license use of it like they do right now?
That's the thing. It has to be in the original contract, in the original
NFT,
that you're licensing it versus, you know, selling the ownership. Or maybe you're only selling fragments for people to do certain things with. You know, I wouldn't necessarily rush into, you know, what's being marketed to a lot of entertainers. You know, you need to release your whole thing on NFTs. You need, slow down a bit. I mean, I'm on. I mentioned that to. Soldier Boy is posting a lot about crypto and NFTs and things like that, and I mentioned that on a lot of his posts. And I was like, you know, sometimes, you know, just your hook and just, I mean, that's what's being picked up by TikTok anyway, for them to do little dances. So maybe you should consider, instead of releasing the whole thing, you know, fragments, and see how that works. Because a lot of times the millennial generation, which are the consumers and some of the consumers in the crypto market, that's kind of all they really want anyway. But see how that floats around and what they do with it. And because now you're selling it, even if it's a limited edition, like you're treating it like a trading card, you know, technically you still created it, but they own it. If they flip it and do something else with it, it's really, you don't really have any say. You can't be like, well, I don't want, you know, that. And that's come up recently. The guy that was doing the Fleetwood Mac song with the cranberry juice and you know, on the back of the truck, Ocean Spray cranberry juice, and singing Stevie Nicks kind of pushed back on that, saying, no, I don't want it sold as an NFT. So he had to release the video like without the music. And so I think that's a good thing for creatives as well, that as the artist, you get to say, I don't want that use case. Now, I don't know if she had released her song as that old song, she owns the rights to it, and released it as an NFT, and then he did the video on that, would she have the same say? She probably wouldn't, because if he was one of the buyers, he could do what it wants to. But then you have to think circularly. You have to say, okay, even if I release a sample of a song, you know, how do I control if somebody uses it in a, you know, pornographic production or something like that? Do I now have a say? So there's all these different things that you have to look at in terms of releasing your creatives, because it's supposed to be a transfer of ownership, not a transfer of who created it, but definitely a transfer of ownership. And they're supposed to be able to do what they want with it.
So, but you do have the opportunity to, if you say, to state that when it transfers, you know, to other people and different things, that you can get paid something off of that, right?
Yes, you can have that as long as it stays in digital form. You can have that if there's a tracking as it's resold and resold and resold. What does that mean? But we're still in early stages. So let's say you're dealing with physical art that you registered by way of blockchain. And then it covered all the shipping and everything. You sold it in crypto, and it covered all the shipping, and US dollars, you went and you made your profit. Now, let's say it sits in the account, 5-6 years of the person you sold it to. You have no way of knowing if that person just sold it to somebody who they didn't say they put it on a blockchain, and it made him 20 grand more on top of what it. But you can't realize that because that blip of identification didn't move, because the person he was selling it to didn't care about no Bitcoins. He just wanted the art.
Yeah. Well, that's the issue that we are right now.
So, that you should think in terms of, okay, how am I going to treat? Maybe your physical art for the blockchain is reserved for what Carlos Romero did. He did a commission piece. He's one of the first people to do a commission piece for, I don't know if he lives in Greensboro. It was somewhere in North Carolina, where he did a public piece, and he registered on the blockchain this public piece, just to say, so people can't say, well, you ain't do that. My cousin Stan did. You know how people are. You do something, and then you did it, and then somebody else is lying. And it's usually in our own family that does this. And they were like, but that was done. That wasn't done by him. And then all of a sudden, but no, he registered it as proof that the town, wherever he's living in North Carolina, commissioned for him to do this thing. And he did the piece, and then he registered it. So whether they painted over later or whatever, it's of record that he did this thing. So maybe you save your fine art stuff, or, your stuff, selling music for film rights, you sell that for the big stuff, and then your everyday stuff you still kind of keep offline a little bit until it is a little bit clearer on kind of legal recourse if someone, because what does it say? You have something in the contract you can't use for this, you can't use for that, you can't use for that, and then you sold it and the buyer does it anyway. So now what?
Yeah.
Well, you're going to sue them, depending on who the buyer is, and we know all buyers are not the same. It's easier to enforce something on a small fry than the big potato. Big potatoes do what they want to do, and they sue me. So you have to think all of these things in advance. So you may just, as a fine artist or a musician, I have a certain segment of my business that I reserve for NFTs, because I can hash it out quickly. I know it's popular, and if they do whatever it's a big deal, but not that much of a big deal, because my bread and butter, my entree is still this line of my creative. So test things out, and as things mature, then toe dip a little bit more, put your foot in, that sort of thing. Yeah, I'm a big proponent of trying to figure out the space and figure out what your niche, and then look beyond. Art is used everywhere. And music is used everywhere. Pay particular attention to the esports gaming space and create a new line of business that enters into that stuff. Because, a lot of times video game music is just lousy. So maybe your foray is that you're creating content for a gaming company, and then those rights are sold by the music sold to companies by way of NFTs, an NFT agreement.
And look at some of our Black-owned catalogs. One of the people get an opportunity to have him on, but one of our elders is Joseph Salter. So he's interested in definitely coming on. I just got to give him a date. But Joseph Salter, he is the first African-American to own a 3D video gaming company. But he's also a great musician, and he has a catalog. He has he's with one of the bigger ones, but they gave him his own urban catalog. So, and that's what they do.
I spoke to him briefly once. I'm connected to him on LinkedIn. I need to go back to him and talk to him again, but it was really early on because I first learned of NFTs in 2019 from Cash, who I mentioned in that production. And she was introduced to me by another guy named Jamari Peterson, who's also in NFTs. And I sought out and connected with Joseph on LinkedIn as if to contact Black gamers for them to be aware of what was happening. So I think when I first contacted him, it was a little overwhelming because nobody knew what NFTs were. So understanding what's the difference between a regular video game and a blockchain-based video game. But at that time, I was trying to put the bug in his ear that this different world of producing games and revenue streams from games can happen with via NFTs and just blockchain setups, economics in general.
Well, we'll see if we can. I definitely work setting that up, because I just ran across him the other day, said hi and all. He's an elder, and I know our elders being locked in during this pandemic has been helpful, because he used to stay in China. We a lot of contract work over there, but he's in Atlanta, but he's just been there this whole year. So we definitely work to make that happen.
He's actually, I think at one time he's either hometown is Long Island or whatever. We had kind of had some people in common. Like I think one of his kids went to my high school or something like that. But I was gone. But it was like usually when I tell people where I'm from on Long Island, I'm used to even other Long Islanders being like, I don't know what that is. And he said, wait a minute. Apparently, he lived in my region for a short period of time, and I don't know if the child graduated from the school, whatever. But he knew. I said, I know where the school is, and we were there for a hot minute. I was like, well, that's a rarity.
Yeah. So we'll definitely work to make that happen. Yeah, we have some dynamite people. So we get ready to close out. We got about like 8 minutes. It'll take us to 2:30. Since we got started late, we just went a little half hour longer. But I want to thank you, Deidra. Thank you so much for showing up. Definitely, we are going to share this with the October Gallery with their series. They do a Saturday series, so need to find out when that's going to refresh. So they normally do 3 to 5, but they didn't do it today because of us. So I have to see when they're going to refresh their series. But it's a great community of artists, art patrons, and I have to get back with the one collector, because he was serious. I want to know. But one of the movements we really want to work on, and for any of those interested, again, go to octobergallery.com and sign up so that you're on their email list, because one of the things we're looking at is establishing our own auction house. Okay. That's what that is an outcome we really need to produce. And October Gallery, being in the game for so long, consistently, and they early on, when it slowed down with the in-person coming out and all, they went online early on before hardly anyone else. So they have a real massive flow that they built up online and an online community. So they probably have one of the biggest sites far as interactively of artwork, where artists are on there, artwork, and the patrons. It's not just stale. I mean, it looks like a regular website, but the activity that goes around it, it's not just e-commerce, it's community based. So even that's there, but there's a whole lot of community and different things happening, around that website that still revolves around it. So, but because of that position, and because they're, I think they just had their 35th, so this is the 36th year anniversary. So, because of that long stance, and Mercer and them, they're in real estate and all of that. They understand money, and he's traded some of the biggest Beardens and things all like that. So with that, we feel like they have the position, and they have a very nice size email list of art lovers that they're in a position to really be on the forefront of establishing an auction house. And then they also want to, it's a whole funnel that that when someone wants to sell, they don't just think, oh, I got to go to an auction house, because we have the museum in, the museum down in Washington. We have the African American Museum here in Philadelphia. Each city has their own museum. There are other channels, and other pathways that we can take. And so we want to really create that, that connection, that pathway for the art. And this is if
you want to go crypto, touch base with us, and we can, if you're already building an auction house, you might as well start building so that you become the Nifty Gateways, because Nifty Gateway is actually an auction. Instead of listing with them, include that functionality as well. So you can have the traditional e-commerce, which, of course, uses the usual gateways of Stripe, PayPal, or Apple Pay, or whatever else people are using. But you might as well incorporate the crypto NFT component as well. You can talk to me about it, and we can see how that can happen.
So like they do
so
smart online, but they're actually they're like actually look like you're becoming the premier. Like there's like 1 or 2 premier galleries you go to when you get artwork and you want to sell it. Like when you want to sell your 7-8 figure and more in art for a piece of art, there's only a couple galleries, places, auction houses that you go to in the United States and around the world. So, but that's what they're looking to become, that auction house for our community. So we have some place we don't think we're just gonna go sell it to Sutherland, and not that they're doing anything crooked, they just don't deal in our community. So once it's sold,
it's the same thing. So you talk about Sotheby's and all the other art galleries. Well, I'm talking Nifty Gateway. We don't have that either. It's the same thing.
I definitely agree. We need to build our own. I definitely
build it and
we need to build our own.
And we already know.
So, but we're all in this together. So that's one of our outcomes. Another outcome you offered, for authors, because this is the book. You offered that opportunity about using, doing an NFT on your book. And one of the things I really want to create, which I'm so surprised that we're not there yet, is a multi experience book. I mean, we can do audio and we can do an ebook. I don't know why we can't listen to portions of a book while we're reading, while a picture can't, come alive. I don't understand why
you always could. I mean, it never really, for whatever reason, it never really took off there, but there were rich format EPUBs or books that you could put every bell and whistle in. You could put language tracks, everything. But, the production of that actually raises, but there was nothing to stop any of the ebooks that you're buying from Amazon. It's basically, EPUB is basically HTML. So anything that you can see on a website, you could have in an ebook. It's just a lot of people don't go into that production because, what are you going to sell it for? You're going to sell it, selling it for one thing when it's just the wording, or have an audiobook separately and sell that. Or do I make this incredibly rich HTML EPUB version of a book, and then the next thing you know, I don't have any buyers because people don't want to pay that price point for the fact that it had a voice or actor, and it had a researcher who was adding links and that sort of thing, or art. Now there's an artist involved. So
but they do it when they publish like on the PDF publishing platforms. They tell you, that was one of the biggest sellers to people doing magazines online. You can embed video, you can embed audio, you can
and
so,
all of that
artistically.
All of that, it can exist in the NFT world. I mean, I'm just doing stream of thought when I was talking to you about it, but I fully expect that in the future you'll just go to a bookstore and it's just NFTs. You just won't know it's NFTs because you can go back to that rich format and sell that. But moreover, you probably can create book clubs. If you're doing it on crypto, you can create book clubs in which let's say you have, any type of book, the ABC book or whatever, and ABC book becomes popular, and a lot of different book clubs who are separate entities want this book for their memberships to read. You can have this type of network in which when one book club group of 25 people buys it, the other clubs are kind of notified and know what's going on because it's built on the technology of crypto and actually can benefit from the buying and like kind of like a revenue share model, that the smart contract has it that because you belong to ABC's book club, that, and it might be 100 different book clubs, with 25 members apiece. Every time there's a book buy, everybody within that network gets a sprinkling of residual income from that purchase. And that replicates with music fan clubs. That's something that you can't do with USD either, but you with music fan clubs as well. From an artist, and I'm issuing something, I'm like, join my VIP network. And well, what does that mean? Well, every time I sell a T-shirt or every time I sell a digital item, everybody in my club gets a hit of cryptocurrency. I sprinkle some stuff around, and that can be pre-written into the code. So with NFTs, you have that functionality as well. That if you want to create a social network of book fans of the book, that once they join with their respective small entity of club, me and my girlfriend's club versus I don't want to be a part of this club, but because we're all a part of this network, whenever one of those entities buys into a product, everybody gets like kind of like crypto rewards, so to speak, from the sale of that type of thing. So that's kind of like you can build.
Well, we're going to bring that onto our channel, Deidra. We're going to bring that onto our channel, to the OTT channel. So we're going to bring that onto the channel.
You can definitely do that.
Membership worth it. Membership will have its privileges.
Yeah, crypto cashback, I call it.
Yeah. So, well, it's been awesome. So what closing words do you have for us?
Well, if anybody wants to reach out to me, they can actually find Black People and Cryptocurrency on Facebook, the group. I'm usually there too much of the time sometime, or they can go to the website, blackpeoplecryptocurrency.com, and fill out the contact form. So if anyone has any follow-up questions, I did share the link with you, Jackie, within the group chat of that document, that slide presentation that I shared. So if you want to share that elsewhere, it's a public document. It's really just a canvas of some of the of a larger document that I have. But people can feel free to shoot me questions at any time.
Yeah. So we will definitely we'll create various pages for the different for each presentation on the website. We're building out, that is blackbookfairlive.com. And so we will put it there, so you'll be able to either look at it or download the doc from there. And of course the links, even though you can link to Deidra within the description, but the links will also you'll be able to follow everyone. You'll be able to follow Deidra. But I am suggesting, because you can see this is not simple. It takes time. I've been sitting for I don't know how many years just watching and learning. I knew it was a place we needed to be. And I was given the Urban Tech Fair because the founder of the Urban Tech, Newsom, passed on. I was the next in line. It was never anticipated. So I didn't know, exactly how it was going to continue, but we had this wonderful community. And so when I saw her, really talking, and I knew blockchain, what's on trend, what people are talking about. And for the opportunity for us to get in the space and always be on the back end was important. So I was like, we need to learn what this is. People had their opinions. I said, I don't really care about your opinion. This is a technology we need to know and understand, because you can't play a game and you can't win a war that you don't even understand what's going on. So, so I've been putting our push behind there, and then I go in and I listen. I just listen. People say invest here, invest there, until I fully understand it. But I listen. And what I love about Deidra, she doesn't allow any kind of conversation, and she'll come in and challenge or come in and give feedback. So it's real, it's real talk, it's real interaction, and you can really go there and learn. Plus, you got a whole lot of learning material. So I am suggesting to everyone to go to the Facebook group and join. And what's the URL? Black People crypto.
Black people in cryptocurrency is the Facebook group, and there's a frequently asked question or FAQ at the top. As soon as you join, there should be a pin post, whether it's a mobile or your desktop. Click that. That's kind of like our landing page that leads to other free documents, and it covers the whole, how do you buy Bitcoin for the first time from a very broad perspective of several different options. And so we always tell people that if you're new, start studying those documents, and then also to, post some questions. And I think sometimes our group gets people nervous because, we do challenge a lot of people who post to the group and pretty much state that they have a specific product. Because we believe that you should be able to, if I have something, I could defend Black people in cryptocurrency like it's my dissertation because I know it that well. So if you come in and
that's
you
what's
know
so great.
something and you don't know what it is, then
Yeah.
maybe it's because I already know it's a multi-level marketing scheme and you don't.
And that's what you got to understand, guys. This is like, it's an area where people saying this and they're saying hype and this and that, and I'm not judging anybody. But when it comes to my money and you talk about investing, and I got a background in finance, and unfortunately, some of our million, trillion, billion-dollar industries are basically cons. I started insurance, okay? And so when you talk about smart contracts, that is the way of insurance. All insurance begins with a term policy. And then we are taught more writers, more money. So everything that be with a whole life policy is a term policy with writers. And so whatever the product becomes, it's just writers built in. And it's not to say one is wrong than the other, but you need to understand the structure of things when you're investing your money and all. And there's always that hype talk, and so it's a place to come understand before you just jump out and invest. And then, there are opportunities, and I have nothing against network marketing and direct sales, but there are times when you just need to know why. Like if I knew nothing about insurance, and I was glad that I came in insurance through Primerica, which was A.L. Williams at the time, because their education is impeccable. I've seen people 5 years couldn't pass an insurance test that I could pass right away. So they had great education. You really understood it. At that time, they really taught you about people and connecting. But then there was a time when I didn't. I took my license, got another job, and I learned right now, if I want to go sell insurance, I can start at an 80 to 100% contract with a regular company, or I can go back to Primerica at a 25 to 30% contract, which is a great business model, but why would I? Right. And then that's the same thing with come investing with those heavy loads. If you're getting a 3% return and you got 8.5% load fee, where do you think, so.
I said, be wary of marketing. It's going to be a whole lot of marketing in mainstream publications and mainstream news outlets talking about the brands and sometimes the brands have the worst products. So we don't recommend people use PayPal or Robinhood. Why don't we recommend they don't use it? Because if you buy Bitcoin from them, all you can do is hold, or you can liquidate back to fiat, which is a taxable, event.
Whereas PayPal's getting ready to build up. I just looked at a job they have at PayPal, getting ready to build up their whole crypto business.
What they did was they created a closed house, because if you buy Bitcoin by other means, mind you, it's the same Bitcoin, it's the real Bitcoin. If you buy it from a Bitcoin ATM where you can look up in your neighborhood, or you buy from some of the other exchanges like Gemini or Uphold, if you buy from those, you can move it from their network and send it to anyone in the world. So who made the better purchase? the better purchase. When it comes to Black people, we do things, especially now, more across borders. I mean, everyone always talks about Africa in the distant sense. Oh, only European nations are going in and they're growing cocoa in Jamaica. Growing cocoa in Ghana or West Africa, and then you got to go through Europe to get a chocolate bar and all this kind of stuff like that. Well, we as African Americans can have direct relationships with Ghanaian chocolate growers and producers, and make our own chocolate bars. But we can't do that if we don't have the freedom to send our Bitcoin to make a transaction directly to Ghana.
And that is a big issue. I have an intern right now. She's in Bahama. And
Bahamas, yes.
She quickly did my website for me, and she said, "Oh, I have PayPal, and I can't get the money to her, and I have to figure out how to get her money." And I'm like, "My God, Bahama is right there beyond Florida, but yeah, I can't get money to her."
Yeah, the Caribbean nations and African nations, and it's not the only one. It's happening in the kind of non-honorary white Asian countries, which basically, if you're not in Japan or South Korea, and to some minor extent India, you're basically in the same predicament as people in Africa or in the Caribbean. It's also Latinx countries as well. So we have a real remittance issue that designates it's real easy to send money using PayPal, Stripe, and other means, Venmo, whatever, as long as you're in the West. As a matter of fact, if you look at anybody that comes out with a new product, I've even seen I knew when the person was announcing they were coming out with something that was like a PayPal was Black owned. I said, it's got to be a white label. And if it's, I know what the test is going to be a white label when they say what countries that they can, you can have these accounts. So when the person finally released what countries you can have the accounts, of course, it was the UK, the United States, Canada, Poland, whatever, every place in Europe. And yet, who was on the locks? You can't send anything in the Caribbean. You can't send anything to whatever. So it kind of made me dismiss. It didn't matter that there was a Black person headed in the company. You didn't resolve our problem. And those of us in the United States, in terms of proximity, we do deal with a lot of people in the Caribbean because a lot of people in the Caribbean are in the Americas. So if you go on vacation, you go on a cruise ship and you discover some artist, when you get to that port in Haiti and Labadee and you see all them artisans and all those woodwork, you can't even help those people because them people can't have PayPal accounts. They can't have Stripe accounts. They can't have regular bank accounts. So what they can have is they can have a Bitcoin wallet, but they can't have it with PayPal and they can't have it with Robinhood. So that's why I say don't use the stuff. Don't talk to somebody that's in the space before you decide I'm going to buy with Coinbase or I'm going to buy with PayPal or I'm going to buy with whatever, because it might not resolve the problem that you're trying to fix. You want to sell Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee with some Jamaican coffee growers, but they can't use Stripe, they can't use PayPal, they can't even use Bitcoin that you bought because you bought it through Robinhood and PayPal, and Robinhood and PayPal says you can't send it anywhere. So you have to know the big picture, do the research first. Where should I buy? And so that's what happens. People come in our group and they try to do it alone. And then they make an announcement. I did this. And then somebody pounces back. Oh, well, you just messed up. Yeah.
Somebody just posted. I just looked at a post when I was sharing about where to come for the live stream. It was right up there. Did anybody have this problem? Anyone else had this problem?
This exchange is that. I mean, that's not to say that the ones that we list are perfect. They're not necessarily perfect. They're not necessarily without flaws, but there are some platforms that give more freedom. They're like, look, it's your Bitcoin. You're just using us as a vehicle to buy it. So a lot of the things you'll hear us talk about, especially for New Yorkers and Texas and, Washington State, some of the most locked down states when it comes to crypto, because it's a state by state thing. Some states are better than others. You more than likely can use a Gemini, or you can find a Bitcoin ATM machine in your area, and that's pretty much your only choices. You don't have option of using Uphold and some of the other exchanges. Even some of the decentralized exchanges are blocked for you. However, it's better to use some of the things and some of the new ones we're talking about is Clever, which is a wallet downward road. So it's Clever with a K. It's a wallet download for Android and Apple. And why? Because it holds a bunch of cryptos. It's like 30 right off the bat. So, but they don't control where you buy it. You can use their in wallet thing to buy, but if it's too expensive, you don't have to. You can use ATM, you can use exchange. So more and more, you're going to see more of these companies that are decentralization friendly. They're like, we'll give you a product that you can use that has a great, clean interface. But if you don't want to buy with us, you don't want to buy with us. Fine, buy with somebody else. We don't really care. You can still store your crypto with us. Those are the type of platforms that you want to actually try to use, not the people that are locking you into some AOL CompuServe type thing, talking about we could be all things to all people, because as soon as they say that, we're the ones getting the short end of the stick. We're the ones that, you can't send to this new business relationship that you have in the Caribbean because this idea that came out that you want to release some new rum or some new coffee or all the stuff we know that they have, even when it's like some ginger mints, anything, soda, Caribbean sodas, Caribbean ice cream. I mean, we're more leaning to this side than we are to Africa because we don't know as much, but there's a lot of stuff happening in West Africa. And right now the paradigm is set up with traditional finance that if we are to do business, we have to go through a white entry. We have to go through a white central bank. We have to go. It empowers and enriches Europe, Canada, and the US. But the US, I don't mean us. Mm-hmm. So if you want to form different business relationships, whether it's musical artists in South Africa, with the United States, that you can collaborate to bring something to the world, you're going to have to do it through crypto, but you're not going to end up doing it through crypto, through the PayPals, the Robinhoods, the status quo. You're going to have to get used to looking at people's terms of service and reading the terms of service and say, are they locking us out or are we inclusive? And what are the rules and what are the fees? Because it really should be how crypto is. The rules are supposed to be the same for everyone in the world. Now there's these new entities building companies on top, and they know that you're used to being discriminated against. So they build the thing and they market it and they get you a celebrity, a hip hop artist, or they get you an athlete that you love to tell you this is what you should use, and then you get suckered into an environment that really doesn't do us any good whatsoever. And a lot of the celebrities and stuff, the black people, they're not talking to us. They're not talking to the black software engineers. They're not talking about the black people. And they may connect with us on social media, but they don't actually talk to us at all because all they're doing is taking checks. They don't know any more than you do. They just know that you get out and say, look, I got free Bitcoin from you. They might not even have Bitcoin. But they're giving it out and saying, getting you all excited. Right. And we're like, and Cash App is not a bad option. I mean, it's better than PayPal and Robinhood, but there are plenty of options. But you got to talk to the right people, get the right information, and then decide to do what's best for you and your family.
All right. Well, maybe we said we're going to have a part 2, so maybe in the part 2 we'll talk about because now everybody just had to catch up on the conversation. But maybe we can talk about more like, what are the better ones and, where's the discrimination at and where the better opportunities and those type of things. So for now, though, we are ending this. And I thank you so much, Deidra. You are like
no problem.
One of the people was watching you. I don't know. Did you remember when you did our show Beyond Talk? I interviewed you on the radio, with Faith Moore McKinney. Yeah, she was watching it. I was like, I need to get Faith to come in here and talk. She loves interviewing you. She loved it. Yeah. So again, guys, just follow us at the blackbookfairlive.com, blackbookfairlive.com. We have this event is going to end in like 10 minutes and this will be down, but we will come back up and we will give you the various dates. again, if you want to vend, we actually have a booth, so you'll be able to have the opportunity to demo a booth, see how it works, but you can get your own virtual booths. And right now, the virtual booths are only $35, and you can have in a booth for an entire day. You showcase your images, you can link out to your website, and what's even great, you can do these one-on-one video chats. You can do it in the corner, or you can make it huge for the whole screen. So you can talk to your customers directly. You can sign books, authors. You had a book there, sign it, and get all the info, pack it up, ship it out right there. We get to make the of this virtual space, and people with sales, whatever. So you come in and you can get your vending booths. We do commercials. We have good opportunities to market yourself. Like I said, we're going to do about another 8 shows over the next 30 days. So I thank you. And next up, April 6th, Bedtime Stories with Shelly Shelton. Chandler Goes Camping. So it's April 6th at 8 p.m. We get started with the stories. Bring your babies by. Get your jammies on and all your cocoa. We're going to sit up here and go camping with Chandler. So April 6th, Chandler Goes Camping. We'll be right back here. And so you'll be able to find us on blackbookfairlive.com. You can register there and you get the link, and we'll be back here at Booth Central, and there'll be a booth underneath, but you definitely can. We're going to cozy up and read some bedtime stories. So that's April 6th and 13th. So I thank you so much. Thank you, Deidra. Again, what's the website in case, because you know there's another group called Black People in Cryptocurrency. Its spelling's a little different, but it can get confusing. So what's the website?
If there's another group, they jacked our stuff, and you should tell them that they did.
I know, but I don't want the other people to get confused.
Black People Cryptocurrency. There's no and in the website name, blackpeoplecryptocurrency.com. But in the website is Black People and Cryptocurrency. We have a page, and we have the group. The group has more than 14,000 members as of right now.
And I've put the links up on all the social media platforms we're on in the comments.
All righty, that's awesome. So you just go link there, join the group, follow the conversation. Again, thank you, everyone. James, you want to give us a little bit when we roll out far as Light Thief Productions?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, yep. I'm Light Thief Productions. I'm the executive producer over here. We do this kind of stuff all the time, digital, in-person events, but there's this pandemic thing going on, so we haven't been doing so much of the in-person event stuff. But yeah, check us out, light-thief.com, Light Thief Productions, Light Thief Productions on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Mob Crush, wherever digital content goes, we pretty much send it everywhere. And thanks for using us for this segment. We really appreciate it. Love bringing new technology around, and we problem solve and test this stuff so that you don't have to. So yeah, keep an eye on blackbookfairlive.com. All the links are in the chat, and I'm gonna go to back to the title card, play some music, and let everybody relax to some chill, inspirational ambient music. And is there anything else that you all have to say?
No, just thank you. Thank everyone for coming. Thank you for being engaged, and just make sure we go out and do something with this, but get the family around. We really have some exciting things coming. So like I said, we already know 6/13 bedtime stories. April 16th, we got a watch party. We're going to see Sojourner. Again, that's a whole family. And then we'll confirm the date. But one of the most exciting things is that we are going to do a family video shoot, and you can win a family dance. I had 3 of them to give away. So Hezekiah, he's a music artist. Put in Hezekiah Hip Hop if you just search him out. 3crates.bandcamp.com. Just find him. Hezekiah, he got the forgiveness video, and you can come and he's going to show you and your family how y'all shoot your own video. So we're going to give you the music and you shoot your own family video. We're going to just have fun. So we're going to be doing some great interactive things that just makes this exciting. So see you on the other side.